Everything at Auckland Zoo is about conservation, educating, advocating, and we do conservation hands-on in the field and make a direct difference in the wild.
This is why I do what I do. This is the epitome of it all.
We are scientifically driven and motivated.
This is the first time this has been done.
There must be a way we can succeed, and we're just going to keep trying.
Using our skills in the zoo to provide support for the most threatened species we have.
This time on Wild Heroes, subantarctic fur seal Otawa gets a habitat makeover.
Can't wait to be able to let him out.
A new zebra to Auckland Zoo gets vital dental work.
Oh, goodness.
And the team releases hand-reared, critically endangered taraiti back to the wild.
It's the part of the project we don't know how it's going to go.
Otawa is our subantarctic fur seal here at Auckland Zoo. He's full of character, so it's lovely to work with him. He loves those big squids. I love being able to work with animals that challenge me or encourage me to be a better person.
Otawa was found at a beach in Auckland's Manapo Heads just as a young pup, and the Department of Conservation picked him up and brought him in here to be seen by our vet department. The vets actually found when they gave Otawa a really good check over that he was blind in one of his eyes, and that meant for a young pup that he wasn't going to be able to survive, he wasn't going to be able to hunt effectively out in the wild. So the decision was made for him to stay here with us. Having Otawa here is amazing because he's a great advocate for his species and of course for the conservation efforts of all the marine wildlife around New Zealand. Otawa is now the only fur seal here at Auckland Zoo. So we really go to extraordinary lengths to make sure we can give them interactive training sessions and stimulating enrichment. We'll just put these down the end. Today's really exciting because we are putting some kelp in Otawa's underwater environment. This is specially designed artificial kelp. It's come all the way from Denmark. It's really important to be able to provide Otawa with a variable underwater environment. Fur seals out in the wild, move and swim around, their ecosystem's constantly changing, so we want to be able to provide that for him. We've gone for a bull kelp, which is native to the New Zealand waters, and we've also gone for a seagrass as well, just to add a little bit of variation. It's all about creating an immersive but changeable experience for him. We've got an amazing technical utilities team here at the zoo. One of our specialists, he's done a great job hand making moulded anchor systems. We want to put them in quite a few different places that are really going to affect the way that he swims and moves. It's about him exploring and to weave in and out like seals do in the wild.
Zebra form part of a mixed species habitat here at Auckland Zoo. with giraffe and ostrich within our Africa safari track. Auckland Zoo directly supports conservation projects in Africa. Moroi is a male zebra who's newly arrived at Auckland Zoo. As with all newly arrived animals, Moroi's in quarantine. Today, Moroi will need to be anaesthetised to allow us to do a number of routine health checks, and that for him is going to include a dental exam. Moroi is a middle-aged zebra, and his teeth might be starting to cause him problems. So we've got Lizzie, who's a specialist vet dentist, coming to help us with the procedure.
My practice is primarily horses, rhinos, and zebras. What I'm hoping is that he has perfect teeth and they're aligned properly, not packing food in between the teeth, and there are no loose or mobile teeth, and there's no cavities.
Oxygen is out.
Okay, thanks.
If you go in there, Chad.
Our first aim is to give Lizzie access to Moroi's mouth as quickly as we can to do an assessment, and then Lizzie's going to let us know how long we think we might need to keep Moroi anaesthetised for.
Where do you want that?
Under his back of his mandible. Any anaesthesia is a risk, but we take full advantage of every moment that we have when they're under anaesthesia to get as much information as we can.
Lizzie, can you please confirm you're definitely happy with the position?
A little bit higher.
Higher?
Okay, sorry. Can we get his other leg out the other side of him?
Like that?
Right out, there we go. Yep. Perfect. Yep, under him.
That's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll first check the symmetry of his face, do an external physical exam, and then look at his incisors. Okay, are you ready? 101, overgrown. 102, overlong. Between 302 and 303, food packing. What we're looking for is any pathology we can sort now so it doesn't become a problem for him later. Pathology is a condition that is abnormal.
Have we had a look, and can you give us a time estimate?
No.
Not yet, okay. So
I'm looking at his incisors. Get straight from the front. Okay, and then go diagonally over there. That's good. Perfect. If I open this, can you slip it in? Yep. Get the right angle, twist it. Yeah, okay. There we go, good, okay.
we just need a steer. He's okay, but we want to keep this pretty quick, I think.
This zebra has just arrived a few weeks ago. We want to find out what's in his mouth, because we don't know. The other vets are doing physical exams and checking all the things you can't tell when they're awake.
How have you got on, Adam, with bloods?
Yeah, done.
Okay, a 106, severe hook, 1.5 centimeters overgrowth. He has a hook, James, that's that long past the occlusal surface, and he's got a shorter one on the other side, and he's got huge buccal ulcers all the way back. Being as they're prey species, which means that predators in the wild would have eaten them, they don't tend to show pain, so it's very difficult to see when they actually need dental care. 206, rostral hook. Do you want to have a look at this, James? He has a very long hook in the front of his mouth. We won't be able to take all of it out today, or we'd be exposing pulp, so we'll take as much as we can.
So do I have a time yet that you'd like him asleep for?
I need at least a half an hour.
Okay.
He's tensing quite a lot on his neck.
Yeah, so just stop stimulating him. Let's just get the drip running for a minute.
We've still got tongue movement, but his neck's relaxed a bit.
Yeah, so half a milk's just gone in, the triple drip's running. Still a bit of touching, isn't there?
A little bit, it's better.
So he's now had a mil of IV. Should be enough to just relax him. Another minute or two, the triple drip will be kicking in.
You guys okay for me to start floating?
Yeah, go for it.
This zoo is amazing. They are very interested in preventative care. The vets, the keepers, everybody knows what they're doing every minute that the anesthesia is happening.
Let's just inject him and then that's done. Breeze, are you happy? I'm just going to start doing a physical exam.
Just running an ice
James, the float's nearly done. Yep, yep. And just going to do some flushing of diastole.
So like, is that kind of a 5-minute thing?
10 to 15.
10, 15, okay, yeah.
This is what smells, so I want to do a little drilling down with that. You guys are gonna have to be really, really still for a second when I do this, because I don't want to cut him.
So are we less than 5 minutes away, Lizzie?
We are.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna drop his rate down to 125, okay? So 1 minute and then we need to start going, please.
He has a fair bit of tartar around his incisors, and his incisors are quite uneven, so they need to be addressed next time.
Kind of out of time. We're an hour and 45 now, so we need to start exiting, please. So we're all done with procedure?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to want to lay him sideways.
Triple drips off.
Gently, gently bring that foot through.
Yep.
Head and neck nicely extended.
Yep, that's nice and extended. Nose is facing down. The oxygen is now out of the nose.
Everything's out of his mouth. No gags.
No.
We'll go for it. You give them a quick scrub, 30 seconds, and the other person do physio on his leg.
He's breathing really well.
He was just wiggling his leg a bit there.
He's trying. Come on, Maroi. Up you get.
Okay.
Once he's recovered from the anaesthesia in another day or two, we're going to start the process to get him integrated.
Now he'll be able to get all of the nutrition out of his feed. He'll be able to chew the food he does eat better. Thank you. You guys are a bloody awesome team, as always.
You too.
Thank you.
Auckland Zoo is part of the Taraiti New Zealand Fairy Tern project. This is the second full season that we've been proactively taking eggs, hand-rearing them and releasing them to try and boost numbers in the wild. There's around 40 New Zealand Fairy Tern left, 9 or so breeding females. They're critically endangered. We are at real risk of losing this bird forever. The chicks are now 2 months old. They've been in this aviary for around a month now. Their progress has come on dramatically since they've been at the zoo. They've got space to fly, so they've been developing flight muscles. They now have pools to fish in, so they're developing their fishing skills further. And we've got 8 birds to this point, which we're all really excited about.
We've got a huge number of partners within the Taraiti program. We do everything from intensive nest management, predator control, creation of habitat, and what we're working on here is trying to figure out how we can rear chicks to supplement the wild population.
We've never reared this many chicks to this age. The zoo have done most of the work in that aspect, so that's phenomenal.
So when the chicks go to the aviary, we're really involved with the Department of Conservation. They've got all the knowledge about wild birds, so it's really important that we team up.
There's so many different threats that they're facing. Predators, weather events, people with dogs, vehicles, they're really up against it.
So our typical day involves feeding the birds. So I've just put in a feed of giant cockapoo, which is a native whitebait to New Zealand. These particular fish have been bred commercially, and it's a species that the birds would be eating in the wild. They would find it in the estuaries where they would be fishing. In the wild, the parents would be feeding them still, and also the youngsters would be able to watch the parents and learn that way. But what we have found They've learnt those skills themselves. It's obviously an innate ability they have, and they just need to develop it. There is a member of staff from the bird team of Auckland Zoo here every single day. It's really important that we're watching the birds every day, checking the dynamics of the group, and noting everything down so that when we come to do this in a year's time, we've learned from everything that's happened this year. That's a really important step.
What we're doing here is very new. It's evolving and changing as we develop the methodology.
We're checking their wings are okay, checking their legs, their body condition, and see them really up close. So we're just weighing all the birds. If you know what a bird's weight is and what their body condition is, that's 90 grams. Especially when they're young birds like this, you can check that they are developing properly. We're monitoring these birds really closely. We're keeping the birds within the aviary until they've developed skills to be able to really confidently dive into the water and fish for themselves.
When they go out into the wild, the fish are going to be able to move around a whole lot more. So yeah, they really need to be catching most times they're diving before we'll feel confident to release them.
The survival is really critical. We can get them to this point, we can do that, that's brilliant. But once we release them, that's a whole different ball game, and we need to make sure they're prepared for the wild.
The biggest challenge is the unknown. How do we release them in a way that ensures their survival?
Big day on the Tara Iti project. We're actually releasing the birds out into the wild.
New Zealand fairy tern or Taraiti, they're listed as naturally critical. That's the highest strict classification that we have. Releasing 7 birds is pretty huge. If just a few of them survive, that's a big boost to the population.
Before we release the birds, we want to make sure they're in really good condition. So we're taking some measurements, checking that their bands still fit really well, because that's the way we're going to be able to ID them when they are out in the wild. They're building up condition, a bit of muscle, which is really important. They need that strength for flight. Everything is so far playing out nicely. We've kept these birds in an aviary for 90 plus days of their lives. We've done as much as we can. It's time for them to be out in the wild. The birds know how to fish, and they're going to have to do it for themselves now. So it's the part of the project we don't know how it's going to go.
We are currently at Manapo, so Manapo means cloud of birds. This is a pretty phenomenal place. You can see just how many birds there are out here. Banded dotterels, New Zealand dotterels, variable and South Island pied sketches, basically the whole cohort of New Zealand shorebirds. It's one of the few places that when we get a really, really high tide, the birds can roost or sit over the high tide period.
This is a really safe location as it's an island. There's good fish in the waters. The Tara Iti should love it, in theory.
The plan today is to figure out where our adult Taraiti are.
There's less than 40 birds, so if we see 20, 25 Tara Iti here, that's a pretty good sign that we'll be able to release the birds amongst their own.
What we're hoping is they'll pick up with that adult flock and they'll show them where the places are to forage around here.
Troy, you've got about 5 small terns heading your way too.
Got the birds to the site now. We're about to open the door of the box and let them go forever.
Best case scenario is that we open the boxes, they go, oh awesome, there's some food here, we're just gonna hang around for a little bit. There'll probably be a few of them that will take off, intermingle with the adult flock, and hopefully we'll see them coming and going a little bit. I am excited, I'm nervous, apprehensive, all the big feels.
We've got people set up on different locations, lots of eyes watching.
Worst case would be we potentially might not see them again. Hey team, this is Alex. So birds are out and all up in the air pretty much straight away, headed east, southeast. Still got eyes on a couple. Over.
All 7 birds flew out the boxes really fast. We're just now on lookout to see where they've flown to.
Alex, Nikki, we saw a couple heading north, very high up in the clouds.
Thanks, Nikki. Over.
Didn't actually think it would quite go like that, but you can't predict these things at all.
The wind's up and there's birds everywhere and there's all sorts going on, and this is what these guys face every day. We've released them into an environment they have to cope with. And this is where they're supposed to be. Feels pretty cool. A little bit nervous that the guys are out there now in the wild.
It's really exciting and we're so proud. As a zoo, we're able to contribute on the ground to make a difference with this species.
My hope for the Tariti program at the moment is that we can continue on the path that we are. What we're doing has the potential to support the species.
End of an era for this season, but come October again, we'll be watching the wild birds come into breeding plumage and pair up, start laying eggs, and we'll be doing this all over again, knowing a lot more than we did 6 months ago. The future is right there and we can change it.
Next time on Wild Heroes, the zoo's 2 Sumatran tigers come together for the first time as part of an important breeding program.
We don't want to see her being very disinterested. She might roar, she might growl.
The vets work to save 2 very rare native wetland birds.
To have 2 in at the same time is really unusual. You seem to have just been starving to death.
And the zoo team travel to French Polynesia to help save an endemic bird.
If we don't do something now, we're going to lose the species forever.